Hello and welcome to Mortgage Nightmares. This is a show where we talk about all of the crazy things that have happened to people while they're trying to buy a home. And keep in mind, all of these stories are based on true events. They've actually happened to people. Obviously, we, take out names or change whatever we need to protect anonymity. But these are actual things that can happen and have happened. So I am your host, Ricky Nava. I'm a loan officer. Been doing this for 9 years.
And I'm your co-host, Clay Murray, branch manager and senior loan officer of Military Home Loans, if we're saying how long we've been doing it, 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for people to know who we are.
I think that's long enough to experience some stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of these stories will come from personal experiences that we've had. Some will come from stories that other buddies in the industry have shared with us.
Yes.
You can actually submit your own stories. You can either go to mortgagenightmares.com or message us if you're watching this on social media.
Yeah, we want to hear from you because this is super interactive, right? If it's just us kind of talking about our experiences, that's only a small portion of what has happened in this industry. So you guys are watching, even if you're a real estate agent or escrow officer, title officer, somebody involved in real estate at all, or even if you're just a consumer and you bought a home before and you had a nightmare to share, that could have some good legs for us. So please share it, drop it in a DM, or send it to our email address.
And we will make sure that we keep it anonymous if that is how you want to. We won't mention your name or anything like that. But I do think it is important to let people know what can happen so you can protect yourself and avoid that from happening.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the story that we have today, it's a rough one.
Yeah,
it's a rough
got
one.
Some hair on it.
It does not have a happy ending, unfortunately. But it is something that is important for people to know that can happen.
Yeah.
Right. Now, before we dig in, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Military Home Loans, for allowing us to use their studio and for letting us borrow their branch manager here as our co-host.
Yeah, I'm on loan. We're still working out contract negotiations, but actually, I'll be back.
Okay, well, let's go straight into it. Let's get started with today's story.
Our first story on our first episode.
Yep. So, and just so the audience knows, the way we're going to do it is it's going to be one story per episode.
Yeah.
Okay. So next week, it will be a different story. Today, we're only going to focus on this one.
Right.
Now, let's get into it.
I'm excited. This is your story. This is something that happened during a transaction of yours?
Yes.
Or a client of yours?
Yes, absolutely. So
break it down.
Husband and wife. First-time homebuyers.
Okay. They're excited.
They're excited. They're actually putting a large amount of money down. They've been saving for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Really wanting to get their payment exactly where they want it. They're excited. They found the right home. They found the perfect home.
What year was this?
What year was this? I would say it was probably around 2019.
Okay. So
2018. So before the pandemic.
Before the crazy markets and years that we had.
Right.
Where it was like impossible to get an offer accepted.
Right. Yes. No, it was a decent market. But if you've already been out shopping for a home, you know that it can still take some time.
Yes.
Finding the right perfect fit for you and your family, it's not always easy.
Right.
So,
and then having your offer be the one that the seller actually chooses.
Right. Yep.
Even if you're the only offer, there's no guarantee they'll accept it.
Absolutely.
So a big deal for a first-time buyer to
accepted offer.
Yeah.
They found the house. They're ready. They're ready to move forward. Now, for those of you that don't know or have never bought a house, when you do buy, you put your initial deposit down. Right. That goes straight to escrow.
Yes.
So can you maybe explain what escrow is for people who don't know?
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because the word escrow has at least 3 different meanings during a transaction. You are opening escrow, which is basically just the consummation of the transaction itself. It's called opening escrow.
Right.
And then within that process, there is an entity which represents a neutral third party between buyer and seller. They are the middleman. That is the escrow company.
Mm-hmm.
Within the escrow company is the escrow officer. That is the individual who is kind of overseeing the transaction. And then once you actually have your mortgage and, taxes and insurance are part of your payment, that money is housed in an escrow account. That one totally separate.
But that one's an escrow impound account.
Escrow impound account. Absolutely. Right. But totally separate from what we're talking about.
Yeah, because right now we're talking about the escrow company.
Right.
They are the unbiased third party that basically collects all the money.
Yeah, they're handling
the paperwork, everything. So they take care of the entire transaction. So all the money goes to them. Now, the reason why all the money goes to them is because imagine if you were giving your deposit directly to the seller and there were issues with repairs or things like that, and you want to pull out and you say, hey, seller, give me my deposit back.
That could
might be a hard time to get that from the seller. That's why we have the escrow company to be the kind of the mediator, right? The in-between person. So they hold all the money.
And they're following what the contract tells them to do. Right.
And this is very important to know for this story is that to send money to escrow, they don't take checks.
Right.
They don't
take cash. We don't do cash.
They don't do credit cards, right? It has to be a bank wire, an official bank wire that goes directly from your bank to the escrow company's account. Okay. Now, a huge thing in the industry is, and actually more prevalent recently, because I feel like even nowadays, every email you get from an escrow officer or title rep has on the very bottom. Be aware of wire fraud.
Disclaimer.
Like, be aware of wire fraud.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of them in their signature block say, we won't even send you wire instructions. We'll give them to you over the phone. So if you ever get something from me, it's illegitimate. Right.
So which is important for anybody watching this to know. If you're in the middle of a transaction or you're about to buy, don't ever just rely on an email that you get thinking it looks legit.
Yes.
Always verify with the escrow officer and with the title officer.
Right.
If they're one.
Yeah. So, I'm so paranoid about this. I'll take it a step further. So if I get wire instructions from an email that is supposedly my title or escrow officer, obviously they're going to have a signature block. And in that signature block is their phone number. And it says, call to verify your instructions. I won't call that phone number because it's coming from the same source. I will Google this escrow company and find a phone number on Google and then call that number and make sure it matches up with everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in this story, they sent in their initial deposit. Now, the initial deposit normally is a small percentage of what the total amount is going to be.
Yep.
I don't remember the exact amount, but let's just say for the sake of the story, it was $5,000.
Sure.
Okay.
Typically, it's between 1% to 3% of your purchase price.
Right. Now, the total due was going to be more than that, but this was just their deposit. They wired it to escrow. Everything was fine. No problems. Escrow received it, going through the whole transaction. They went through the entire transaction. Okay. And normally, typically, a transaction takes about anywhere from 21 to 30 days.
Yep.
I would say, right?
Right.
I mean, nowadays, we're probably leaning more towards a little bit quicker, to get your offer accepted.
Correct.
But typically, it's 30 days unless the seller has a unique situation where they need more time. Maybe they need 45 days. Maybe they need 2 months. Right.
They want to go faster or slower. Right. That's always ironed out in the contract.
Typically about 30 days. And a lot of things happen. Inspections happen. Appraisals happen. Right. Sometimes the appraisals and inspections are paid out of pocket. Actually, most of the time, inspections are paid out of pocket. Totally. Right.
Not part of the loan at all.
The appraisal, not always.
Right.
But the inspection always paid out of pocket up front. So if you cancel a transaction, you don't get that money back.
Right.
Right. So that, along with getting your loan fully underwritten and approved by the underwriter, submitting your documents.
Who is the underwriter? Let's make sure we understand.
That's a good question. Right. So the underwriter is a person who has the final say on your loan.
Yes.
Right. Not your loan officer, not you.
Right.
Not me.
They're the bouncer at
not
the door,
the manager,
to see whether or not you're getting it.
And keep in mind that if you've been pre-approved, that doesn't mean that you are 100% going to get approved for the loan.
Oh,
the loan officer is just like the first initial person who reviews it and says, I think that you will qualify based on what I'm seeing.
That's part of the fabric of our show, right? It's going we're inevitably going to talk about bad pre-approvals that are done by loan officers.
So many.
And the borrower's like, yeah, here we go. And then the underwriter's like, there's no way you're going to get approved for this. That's a bad pre-approval.
There are so many stories of loan officers screwing over their clients because they either didn't do their due diligence or they just didn't know the guidelines.
Right.
Because let's be realistic. It's impossible for us loan officers to memorize every single guideline for every single loan program out there, especially because part of the industry is being up to date with the new rules and regulations every single year.
Yep.
So how often do we have to renew our licensing?
We got to go through 8 hours of continuing education every year.
Every year.
And then renew our license every year.
And we have to be up to date with the changes and all that. So guidelines are always continuously changing. So,
and let's not forget too, at the end of the day, a loan officer is selling a product. They're a salesperson.
That's true.
So you're going to get loan officers who are desperate for a sale. And we call them yes man, right? Remember a former boss of ours used to say, "Yay!
Oh yeah, to anything.
We can do that.
It didn't matter where it is.
Yeah, get it in here. We'll figure it out later."
And then he would go to the processor and say, "Make it work."
Yeah, absolutely. So again, inevitably, you're going to get someone who just says yes to everything. They tell you what you want to hear, and then you could ultimately crash and burn later.
That is true.
Not that that's what your client is going to do, but
no,
this not in this story.
No,
at least, right?
No, in this story, they were approved.
Yeah,
they were approved. Their loan, everything was going absolutely perfect. Already had their movers set in place. They had already put their what do you call it? Their notice for leaving their apartment, their 30-day notice, right. Like everything, because they were at the end. You know, at the end is when you wire the rest of your money.
Right.
So you have your deposit at the beginning, and the rest of the funds due for the down payment and the remaining closing costs are not due until the very end. I would say probably maybe a week before closing, maybe less than that.
Less than that.
Okay. Like within the week.
Yeah. Within the last week. I think that's
within the last week, depending on how quickly you're ready to close.
That's what I was going to say, is because you want to check off all those boxes and make sure you're fully approved before you kind of send this last piece of the puzzle.
And if you're a little bit behind, sometimes that money might not get sent until like the day before closing.
Totally.
And that's what happened with these people. Is they received an email.
Okay.
It looked legit.
From their escrow officer.
It had the same name as the escrow company. Okay. It wasn't just like Joe Schmo escrow, whatever. No, It looked.
Or a prince from Africa.
At first glance, it was almost a prince from. I just got there. Yeah, it wasn't a prince saying, "Hey, okay, good. I've got this fortune that I inherited, and I don't have anybody to give it to."
Yeah, you give me a little, and I'll give you a lot.
Right. No, it was. We're talking about, not something that someone who's dumb would fall for. No, any even me and you would have seen that, and at first glance would have thought, wow, this looks like legit. I mean, obviously, okay, well, if we know what to look for, right?
I get what
But my whole point is that at first glance, it looks super authentic.
Okay.
And if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to know. Well, it had wire instructions. And the wire instructions said, wire your final amount to this account, whatever. Right.
And the amount, this is the crazy part to me, is the amount was like in the neighborhood of what they were expecting.
Yeah. And how did they know that? Who knows? I have no idea how these scammers are able to find out the name of the escrow company. Sometimes they even have the actual name of like the loan officer or the escrow officer. How? How do they know that?
Yeah, I don't know. But these data breaches are becoming more and more prevalent. It's happening left and right.
That's true.
But that's not parts of your mortgage and your purchase transaction, I should say, are public record.
Yeah.
But all of that information, especially if it hasn't been consummated yet, it hasn't closed yet, that's not public.
No.
So they had a breach of information.
I had to be that because.
Or a mole.
Because obviously, right?
An inside man.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Think of that juice.
Whoa, man. What if it was an inside job?
Oh, they got a cut of it.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible
you were on the inside,
Hey.
I'm just saying. Until you're ruled out.
Jeez, dude.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, keep going.
I can't believe I just became a suspect.
You got me at the edge of my seat here.
I know.
Don't let my casual posture fool you. I'm riveted.
No. And honestly, it's not a laughing matter. We're making light of the situation. But I mean, it really is, it was pretty sad because, the amount was so close to what they thought it would be. They ended up wiring to that account $80,000.
That was like their life savings, probably.
Yes. And when the escrow officer the day of funding said, okay, we just need the money now. They go, we wired it yesterday. Well, we don't have anything.
Oh my gosh.
And that's when things started to kind of like click. Like, well, what do you mean you don't have it? Well, you should have it. Well, where'd you send it to? Well, we send it to this.
Yeah.
And when
your email.
Right. And when the escrow officer got the information, she goes, that's not us.
Ugh.
So now all of a sudden,
my heart is going crazy right now.
So they were victims of wire fraud. And unfortunately, that money was not able to be recovered in time to close. They didn't have any other money. So that transaction, unfortunately, did not close.
Right.
They weren't able to get the house.
What'd you do with the 80 grand?
What? Dare you?
I just wanted to see if I catch you slipping. No, but really, that's kind of fun. Is that making too light of it?
I think so. Maybe.
What would you do though?
Maybe. I mean, that's honestly, it's one of those things where, what can you do? You know, I mean, obviously they turn it over to the authorities.
Yeah.
Right. There's a whole investigation that happens. I don't know what ended up happening because I do know it's a long process. It's a long investigation.
Absolutely.
And imagine if that happened to you, you would probably be a little bit jaded to the point where probably going to take a little break, you know, from looking for a home, which is why I never found out what happened, is because, you know, it was such a sensitive subject and such an unfortunate thing that happened that I just didn't want to probe, you know, too much into it. So
yeah, where do you go from here?
I just said, hey, I'm available for whatever you need, like help with the investigation. I can send in whatever documents we have, whatever they ask for. Like, you know, here I am to help. But after that, we lost contact. So I don't really know what ended up happening. And I don't know, maybe you guys know if anybody has been victim of wire fraud, like do the banks, do you know?
I mean,
do they give you your money back?
No, they don't. And here's why. So these financial institutions are insured and protected by FDIC. Like we see that all the time. You're insured by FDIC. Or your credit card, right, will stop any suspicious behavior, any fraudulent activity. You get paid back. Those kinds of things are theft, right? If somebody comes in and takes what is yours, theft. These guys willingly sent their money. So that's the position that the financial institutions take. It's like, well, nobody really stole it. You sent it to the wrong place. And as cut and dry and as terrible as that sounds, like that's their position on the matter. It's not an insurable transaction.
So are you telling me that it's possible they never got their money back?
Oh yeah, I would say it's probable
that they most likely did not get. So that 80K is just gone.
I would assume
forever.
Yes. I would assume so.
Jeez,
can you imagine that?
I cannot even.
I mean, you bought a house before.
Yeah,
you wired a substantial amount of money at the end.
I can't even
whatever that.
And just having it be gone and spending that much time saving for it. Jeez.
I will tell you. So I've done a few transactions where, you know, you got to send this money and it's like,
yeah,
this is so nerve wracking. That's a lot of that's my life savings.
Right.
Or at least a huge portion of my life savings. And I am trusting a system somewhat blindly. Yeah. Right. I mean, think about it. A wire is like, I'm not handing you $100 where I could like take it back if something goes wrong.
That's true.
I am sending digital virtual money.
And there has to be ways for them to mask the transaction to where they can't just check and see what account it went to and then pull the money from there.
Yeah. After that wire, it was probably moved so many times.
Yeah, it's probably
not traceable.
Not traceable. Jeez, that is.
I mean, it's certainly fraud, so it is a crime. But as far as insuring the transaction, no, they're not gonna come back and repay them that money.
Wow,
because they willingly sent it. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
It's kind of wild that would be the case, and that would be the position that the institution takes.
But you're right. I didn't really think about it that way as far as like money stolen. Because if you have a big chunk of money sitting at your house and someone breaks in and steals it, how are you going to get that money back? You don't. They stole it, right? Unless you find the person who got it and get it from them. It's not the bank's job to compensate you for the money that you lost.
Right. Well, and that's different because you're talking about somebody stole it from me, actively took it. if you came to my house and, I thought I knew you and I gave you the money, well, that's a totally different interaction.
Almost like if someone was like, hey, let me go take care of this for you, give me the money, you give them the money.
Right. The African prince.
Yeah, and then they don't take care of it.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you say to the police? They stole your money? Well, I mean, technically I gave it to him.
I gave it to him, but,
But he lied to me.
Right.
That's still a crime, but I mean.
Is it though?
Well, yeah, because they falsified it. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm not a criminal attorney.
So, from the person who gave out fraudulent information to receive the money, they were acting as somebody else, right? They were pretending to be this escrow officer. So,
yeah. I mean, which, by the way, we're just speculating here. So if anybody out there is,
please correct us.
An attorney or something, or knows about this, I would love to know if there's any way.
Yeah. What is the recourse
for them to be able to recover the money, or like what happens in this type of situation? Let us know. Comment, whatever it is, send us a message.
And anybody at the FDIC, if I got that completely wrong, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that would not be an insured transaction.
And I also want to make sure that we emphasize the fact that this wasn't because the homeowners were dumb or didn't pay attention.
Right.
No, this was something where they legitimately got tricked into doing something that they thought was the right thing that they were supposed to be doing. It could have happened to anybody.
Yeah.
Right. So
you know what? This has happened to me. I just remembered it. I've done this, not to the tune of $80,000, but back in the day, I entered an eBay raffle and lost. And then I got a reply from eBay that said, hey, you didn't win this auction, but you were the second highest bidder.
Okay.
So the, I think it was the seller of the product has another thing that they're selling. It was a baseball glove. I wanted to buy this baseball glove. They have another one, and they said that they would entertain the second highest bidder, and you can get it for a flat $100. I was like, oh, great. I Western Unioned $100 to eBay, and it was gone.
And it wasn't from eBay. Oh, wow.
But it looked so like they knew the item I bid it on. They knew how much I bid. They knew when the transaction, the auction ended. They knew who the seller was, right? Their username, at least.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was super authentic looking. So, and this was 10 plus years ago.
Wow.
The technology that people have now to mask themselves and steal an identity is probably way more.
And I also want to point out, because even today, this happened a while back, but even today, we get emails sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get emails saying, oh, your closing documents are ready. And it'll have the name of a transaction.
Right.
And at first glance, you might think, oh, yeah, that's important. And as soon as you click on the download file, now they have access to your entire computer.
Yes.
So you gotta be careful for those things. But I think the whole moral of this story is, when you're wiring money for a transaction to buy a home, make sure that you always call the escrow officer before sending any money.
Absolutely.
And say, I just want to confirm.
Verify everything.
Yes. I want to confirm this is the number that I'm wiring to. This is the account. Always.
And so you talked about sending the deposit, then sending the cash to close. And the deposit is always a smaller number than not always, but most of the time. You'll end up wiring to the same place. Same account number, same institution, same reference number.
Would you say 100% of the time that's the case?
I've only ever seen it to where it goes to the exact same place.
Same.
Yes. So if you're sending your closing funds to a different location, that should at least trigger a red flag. You got to pick up the phone and call somebody. And call us, call somebody in the mortgage transaction, because if you're talking about verifying the escrow's information, it's not a bad idea to go to somebody outside of the escrow company to verify that info. In other words, if you got this email from your escrow officer, call your loan officer or talk to your loan processor to say, hey, is this my escrow officer? Yep. Is this the phone number that you have for them? Because we'll know for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep in mind that, us as your loan officer, that's our job. Our job is to be with you and basically hold your hand through the entire process and be your resource.
Your loan advisor.
Once the actual deal goes into contract, we're allowing our operations team to take over, and we become sort of the contact person for anything that you need, which means that we will point you in the right direction, right? We're not going to be the one handling escrow or handling the loan docs or handling the approval or anything like that, but we are still your resource for you to say, hey, I have a question about this. What do I do about this? How do I do this? And we will guide you in the right direction. But always, always rely on your loan officer for everything. Don't ever assume. Don't ever assume anything.
No, especially with all that money on the line.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And if for some reason, the person that this happened to is watching this, I want to make it very clear. Like, we're not trying to make light of your situation.
No.
It's not a funny situation. It's extremely unfortunate. And, hopefully everything has worked out now.
We're trying to use the story to bring awareness.
And the whole purpose of this is to let people know that this can happen and to hopefully help you avoid having, the same thing happen to you.
100%.
Right? Because the last thing you want is people losing any amount of money. It's not just about not being able to close on your home. It's losing out on money that you spent a lot of time saving up for.
Yes. We talked about it many times already, like life savings.
Yeah.
Gone in an instant. Yeah. We want to try to help you avoid that in any opportunity we can.
Absolutely. So that's it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, we will have another story for you. And again, if you have anything to share, send it to us. We'd be happy to share it. Keep it anonymous. But the whole point is to help people avoid these things from happening to them.
These mortgage nightmares.
So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.